A user uploaded a profile picture to a thread, then deleted the account. The picture keeps showing up. Different boards, sometimes years apart, the same blurry photo. LurmoStories has the timestamps. None of the people quoting it remember saving it. The original account never came back to claim it. By December of 2019, I had been doing line work in Colorado for 12 years, which means I had just enough experience to get careless. Night calls all felt the same. You get a location, load gear, drink burned coffee, and tell yourself the guy before you was scared of a blown fuse. That Thursday, I was at home in Lakewood, eating cold pizza, when my company phone lit up at 10:41 p.m. Paula from dispatch said, "Need you and Mike near Kenosha Pass. Partial outage off 285. Possible transformer fault. County Road 56." My wife Emily looked at the microwave and said, "Of course." Mike was my partner that winter. 58, gray mustache, bad knees, and a habit of saying "easy one" right before something got stupid. We took truck 214, a white Ford F550 bucket truck with an Alltech boom, tire chains, cracked cones, and a heater that only worked on high. I threw in my Klein bag, 2 arresters, fuse links, rubber sleeves, and a Milwaukee headlamp. We left the yard at 11:18. Mike bought black coffee at the Conoco in Morrison. By Pine Junction, the dash read 9 degrees. My Verizon phone went from 1 bar to none. The cab smelled like diesel, old coffee, and hydraulic oil. Outside, the cold air bit the inside of my nose. The outage was small. 23 customers, mostly cabins. The ticket said, "Lights flickering since 8:06 p.m., full outage at 10:12, and one report of a, quote, "blue flash and loud buzz from Crow Hill Drive." That usually means a cracked arrestor, a branch, or a transformer that had been sick for a week and finally quit. We turned off US 285 onto a plowed road the Garmin called 56, but the sign called Deer Creek Lane. That stretch southwest of Bailey is not empty, but after midnight, it feels close. Dark hills, mailboxes, a storage lot, then nothing. No snow falling, just old snow on the shoulders and ice shining in the ruts. The line ran along the road on old wood poles. Single phase, primary, neutral. Gray cans feeding houses set back in lodgepole pine. We found the trouble pole at 1207, number 17-4. Gray 25 kilovolt amperes transformer. Cutout open, fuse link hanging down. No fire, no oil. The snow below the pole was crusted and clean. Mike stood with the hot stick and looked up. "Easy one." I told him not to say that. We set cones, put the strobes on, and walked the structure with flashlights. The transformer case looked normal. No bulge, no drip, no scorch at the bushing. The crossarm was weathered but solid. Far off, traffic on 285 sounded like somebody tearing paper slowly. Before I went up, I noticed the first odd thing. The outgoing span, the one that should have gone from 17-4 to 17-5 down the road, looked wrong in my headlamp. For half a second, it seemed to leave the pole at a bad angle, like it was crossing the road. I walked 10 steps west and checked again. Then it looked normal. "Wind playing with it?" Mike asked. "No wind." "Then your eyes are old." I was 41. I told him to shut up and got into the bucket. The boom groaned in the cold. I raised slow because the shoulder sloped under the outriggers. At 20 feet, the world got quieter. The diesel dropped away. The red strobe smeared over the snow below. My rubber gloves felt stiff and powdery inside, and my breath kept wetting the edge of my balaclava. At transformer height, I smelled ozone. Not a lot, just a sharp, clean bite, like a copier room after a jam, mixed with something heavier. Hot dust, maybe. Burned rubber. I called down. "You smell that?" Mike looked up. "Smell what?" "Electrical." "You're standing next to electrical." Fair enough. I clipped in and brought the bucket level. Cutout open, fuse blown, arrestor old but not exploded, bushing dry, connections tight enough. My headlamp gave everything that flat blue LED look. The pole grain looked fake, like a printed pattern. This is where I should have stopped. I should have come down and walked to 17-5 or asked Mike to move the truck lights. I did not. I was cold. My coffee was in the cab. We had 23 customers out and a simple fuse job in front of us. Most bad choices are like that. Nothing dramatic, just tired, annoyed, and sure you know what you are seeing. Then something hit the back of my glove. A heavy tick. I turned my hand over. A black bead sat on the leather cuff, thick and glossy. It did not spread like water. It held shape, like old motor oil. I looked at the transformer. Dry. I looked at the bushing. Dry. I looked at the boom above me. Nothing there. I wiped the bead on the bucket wall. It smeared dark brown and smelled like pennies and burned rubber. I told myself it was grease from the boom, or road grime knocked loose by the cold. One drop was not a reason to pack up. My radio clicked. Not static. A clean push-to-talk click. A low voice said, 214, repeat your location. Mike's handheld was clipped to his jacket below. He was not touching it. I pressed mine. Paula, is that you? Nothing. Just carrier hiss and a pop. In the mountains, radios do dumb things. I used that excuse because I wanted it. Mike called up. What? Radio junk. You good? Yeah. I was starting not to be. My mouth tasted metallic. My cheeks felt tight from more than the cold. I turned my headlamp along the outgoing conductors to follow the span to the next pole. The wires did not go to the next pole. They left the crossarm for maybe 6 feet. 3 dark lines with a little frost on top. Then they curved upward, smooth, not kinked, like the far end of the road had been lifted. The primary, the second line, and the neutral all climbed straight into the sky and kept going. Except it was not sky above them. It was black. Flat black. No stars, no clouds, no gray glow from Denver behind the ridge. My headlamp did not catch moisture or low cloud. The wires simply narrowed into that black and disappeared. It looked like somebody had cut a rectangle out of the night and stood it over the pole. Another drop fell. It landed on the bucket floor near my boot with a soft plop. Then another hit my sleeve. Thick, slow, oily. I did not yell. I had one hand on the rail and one on the controls, and for a few seconds, I just stared. My first real thought was not ghosts. It was stroke. Carbon monoxide, some visual issue from the cold and the LED lamp. I moved my jaw to see if my face worked. I counted 5 fingers in my left glove. I read the decal inside the bucket. Danger, electrocution hazard. Clear as day. Then I leaned out and looked down the road for pole 17-5. It was there, about 210 feet away, lit by our work lights. Crossarm, insulators, the next stretch of line going off into the trees. The wires on that pole came in from my direction like normal. Between 17-4 and 17-5, there was empty air. From where I was, the span went up. From the next pole, it came in level. The 2 facts sat beside each other and would not join. I shut off my headlamp. For 1 second, there was only the red flash from the truck below. I turned the lamp back on. The wires were still going up. Mike, I said. He stopped moving. What? Look at the outgoing span. He pointed his flashlight down the road. Looks fine. No, from here. I can't see from there unless I'm in the bucket. Tell me where the wires go. To 17.5. He paused. Where else? The radio clicked again. This time the voice was Mike's, but not Mike standing below me. It was flat and thin, like a cheap recording. Easy one, it said. That was enough. I grabbed the lower control and brought the bucket down. Too fast at first. The boom lurched, and I forced myself to slow it because panic and hydraulics do not mix. I kept my eyes on the panel. I did not look up. Drops hit the bucket every few seconds now. Tick, plop, tick. One landed beside the emergency stop and crawled across the plastic like it had weight inside it. Mike yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Coming down." "Why?" "Coming down." At 15 feet, the smell got stronger. Ozone, wet pennies, hot dust, and tar like summer road patch. My tongue felt numb. At 10 feet, the radio clicked. I slapped it off without listening. When the bucket settled in the cradle, I climbed out too fast and almost slipped on the step. Mike caught my elbow. He looked irritated, then saw my face and let go. "What happened?" I pointed up. He looked at the transformer, the crossarm, the span. His face did not change. "You don't see it?" I asked. "See what?" "The wires go straight up." He stared at me for a long second. "No, they don't." I held up my glove. The black smear was still in the seams. "What's that?" he said. "It fell on me." He stepped closer, then stopped. His nostrils flared. He looked up again, slower this time. "That smell," he said. "You smell it now?" "Yeah." "What is it?" "Ozone," he swallowed. "A lot of it." The road was quiet. No cars, no wind. The truck idled with a little belt squeal. The strobes turned the snow red, then white, then red. I remember how normal the cab looked through the window. Quick Trip napkins, Mike's thermos, my spare beanie on the dash. Mike walked around and shut off the PTO. The boom hydraulics stopped humming. Without that, the air around the pole felt too still. The transformer should have been silent with the cutout open, but I heard a thin tone from somewhere above us, like a fluorescent ballast in an empty hallway. Mike did not offer to go up. That matters. He would climb and hail if he thought I was being soft. He looked at the bucket, then the pole, then the stain on my glove. "Nope," he said. We sat in the truck with the doors shut and pretended to study the tablet. The outage map still showed 23 customers. The fault marker still blinked on pole 17-4. The tablet clock said 12:37 a.m. I typed, "Unsafe conditions, strong ozone odor, possible equipment contamination." Paula came over the radio clean at 12:41. 214, status? Mike answered first. Standing down until daylight. Can you clarify? Customers are still out. Negative on night repair. Ozone at structure, possible leak. Need daylight and second truck. A pause. Then, copy. From the cab, the line looked normal. I could trace it to 17.5 and farther into the trees. Plain, rural distribution. Nothing in the sky. Nothing dripping. If Mike had laughed at me, I might have let him talk me into another look. He did not laugh. He put the truck in gear and pulled forward before turning around, just to get us out from under the span. As we passed 17-4, something black tapped the passenger mirror. Wet, not hard. Mike saw it too. He kept driving. We got back to the Lakewood yard at 2:08 a.m. In the wash bay, I checked the smear on my glove. The black stuff had dried shiny. It would not flake. I tried Gojo, dish soap, then brake cleaner. It left a dark quarter-sized stain. I threw the gloves in the outside trash. The morning crew went out at 7:30 with a second bucket and a supervisor named Daryl. At 9:12, Daryl called in. Bad arrestor, blown fuse, no transformer damage. Power restored at 9:46. No oil, no leak, no black residue on truck 214. The mechanic said the bucket was clean, except for road salt and normal grease. I checked the passenger mirror myself. Clean. That should have helped. I still work lines. Most jobs are just jobs. A blown cutout is usually a blown cutout. Ozone usually means exactly what it means. But I do not take night calls on that stretch of 285 anymore, if I can trade them. I will do I-70 in a storm, or Idaho Springs in freezing rain. I just do not like Deer Creek Lane. I do not like poles numbered 17 anything, and I do not like looking straight up when a line disappears into low cloud. And the drops, they were slow. They did not fall like rain. They came one at a time from the place where the wires vanished. Like whatever was above us had all night. I still have the work order. OR 7712, Panther Creek Ridge, August 18th, 2021. Intermittent packet loss, shelter temperature alarm, priority 3. Should have been quiet. I was 34 and worked for Pacific West Tower Services out of Eugene. Panther Creek Ridge was a Verizon site on a Crown Castle Tower, 184 feet, west of Elkton, 40 minutes off Highway 38 on a BLM road Google Maps called Unnamed Road. Just fir trees, logging slash, and one turnout full of Busch Light cans. That August smelled like smoke and hot pennies. I bought a burrito at the Chevron in Drain, drove my F-150 into the hills, and went alone because that was normal. The first wrong thing was the gate lock. Our locks were brass American Lock 5200s. This one was a shiny black master lock, brand new. Orange paracord was tied through the fence mesh by the hinge. I stood there with bolt cutters and thought, great, another contractor who thinks rules are optional. Derek at the NOC told me to cut it because the site had been flapping since 2. So I cut it. The snap sounded too loud in the trees. I locked the gate behind me with our spare and parked by the generator pad. The compound looked normal. Dusty gravel, yellow jackets near the grounding ring, the tower ticking as the sun warmed the metal. The generator was at 68% fuel. The beige shelter sat under the tower, with the barred HVAC buzzing. The deadbolt had fresh scratches, but I explained that away. Inside, the shelter smelled wrong. Those huts usually smell like dust, cold air, ozone, mouse droppings, and warm plastic. This one smelled like candle wax, damp plywood, and old electronics from a garage. The AC was running, but the room was 83 degrees. Racks on the left, batteries on the right, microwave cabinet in back. Then I noticed the floor. Someone had swept it. The concrete was clean in a 6-foot circle. Dead moths and cable scraps were pushed under the battery rack. I still treated it like maintenance. That was my first stupid choice. I swapped the barred filter, packed with ash and fir needles, wrote down serial numbers, and plugged my Dell Latitude into the management port. Derek called. I told him the temp alarm was easy, but the microwave link was pushing too much outbound traffic. He said Panther Creek served a highway bend and 6 ranches, and nobody had a ticket. A minute later, my session dropped. My laptop lost the switch. The fans kept humming. Outside, a branch cracked. I looked through the wired glass window and saw my truck, the fence, and gravel. Nothing moved. I traced cables. A new blue Cat 6 line was tucked behind older gray ones, labeled Cambridge in black Sharpie. It ran from an unused switch port through a drilled hole in the wire trough. Behind the microwave cabinet was a black Netgear travel router, 2 Raspberry Pi boards in clear cases, and a small fan blowing across them. They were plugged into a white power strip that did not belong to us. A red-taped thumb drive hung off a USB cable. I said out loud, "Nope." Nobody answered. That made it worse. I took 3 photos with my company Samsung because it stamped location. Derek went to voicemail. The NOC mainline was busy. My iPhone showed 1 bar, which would have been funny inside a Verizon site. The Motorola in my truck could hit our Cottage Grove repeater, but I did not want to go outside yet. I had no clean reason, just the router, the swept floor, the candle smell, and the way the site had gone quiet. Then I noticed the plywood. A sheet of it leaned in the back corner behind the battery rack, covered with a gray moving blanket dotted with wax. I pulled it back. At first, my brain tried to make it into a parts board. We sometimes pin-failed components to plywood for training. Burned fuses, cracked arresters, melted lugs. This was not that. There were hundreds of photographs, cheap 4x6 glossy prints, pinned in tight rows. Faces, men at desks, women on couches. Old people leaning close to screens. College-age guys with headsets. A woman frozen mid-blink in a Zoom meeting. They all had that pale laptop glow. Some had file names at the bottom. Cam_081-421_2332. Delfront_1455. MBP_Air_0319. No one was posing. Every picture looked like it came through the person's own laptop camera. Some had stickers in the corner, red, yellow, blue. Below the photos was the altar. I do not have a better word. It was built from rusty circuit boards, cracked phone screens, modem cards, copper grounding strap, SIM cards, dead AA batteries, coax, and tiny screws arranged in circles. The base was 2 cinder blocks and an upside-down milk crate. In the middle sat a Linksys router from about 2006, with both antennas wrapped in copper wire. Around it were burned tea lights. No symbols. It looked practical to somebody. I backed up and bumped my tool bag. A wrench fell and hit the concrete. Outside, someone coughed. Close. Right by the generator pad. Gravel scraped. The fence gate creaked. I had locked that gate. A man said, "Truck's here." Through the wired glass, I saw a dark Toyota Tacoma tucked between 2 firs outside the fence, not on the access road. No company markings. The back window had a white decal, a circle with lines through it. 2 men stood in the compound. Maybe a third was by the truck. One wore a faded Carhartt jacket despite the heat. One had a cloth mask under his chin and mechanic's gloves. I should have called 911 right there. Instead, I worried about looking dramatic. Maybe they were ham radio guys, generator thieves, or some contractor Derek forgot to mention. Then, one tried the shelter door. The handle moved down, up, down again. I had not locked it from inside. I grabbed the thumb turn and locked it. The metal clack sounded huge. Everything stopped. 3 polite taps came through the door. "Ma'am," the Carhartt guy said. "You with Crown?" I did not answer. "We're scheduled. Open up a second." His voice was friendly. That made my stomach feel heavy. I keyed the Motorola clip to my vest. "Unit 7 to base. Priority." Static. The man tapped again. "We just need our gear." Our gear. I looked at the Netgear box. The little fan was still spinning. A green LED blinked like it belonged there. I keyed the radio again. "Unit 7 to base. I'm at OR 7712. Unauthorized persons on site. Need law enforcement." The radio hissed. Then a clipped voice came back. Not base, not Derek. "Open the door, Megan." He said my name. My name was on my hard hat, sure. The work order had it. For about 2 seconds, I tried to use that explanation. Then my company phone buzzed. "Derek, do not touch the device. We lost management. Are you safe?" I typed, "People here. They know my name. Call 911. Outside, the friendly voice changed. "Phone down," he said. I put the phone in my vest pocket. My thumb must have hit send, because later, Derek said he got the first part. The door handle moved again, harder. The slab flexed in its frame. A second man passed the window. Close-cropped hair, sunglasses, black t-shirt with the same white circle patch on the sleeve. He had a DeWalt drill. That was when the fear became simple. I needed to keep them outside until someone official arrived. That was all. The drill started at the deadbolt plate, high and dry, like a dentist tool against a coin. I grabbed the fire extinguisher, pulled the pin, and stood beside the door. Then, the drilling stopped. A phone rang outside. One man swore. I heard fast steps, the Tacoma door, then the engine. It did not leave. My radio cracked again, this time with base dispatch. "Unit 7, say again your status." I kept my voice low. "Unauthorized access. 3 males, maybe more. 1 attempting entry. Possible network compromise. Send sheriff to Panther Creek Ridge, OR 7712. I am locked inside." "Copy. Stay secure." The Carhartt man came back to the window and held up a badge in a plastic sleeve, too far from the glass to read. "We're federal contractors," he said. "You're interfering with an investigation." That almost worked on me. I asked what agency. He smiled and said, "Open the door." I said, "No." The smile left. He stepped away. I took more photos. The router, the altar, the plywood, the cables. 2 came out blurry. Then a small Dell monitor behind the altar woke up. It blinked into a gray desktop, then a terminal window with IP addresses. A tile grid opened, 12 squares, most black, 3 active. A woman at a kitchen table looking down at a laptop. A man in a garage with pegboard behind him. My own face from above. I looked up. A webcam was taped to the top of the relay rack with black gaffer tape. I knocked it off with the fire extinguisher. It bounced under the battery rack. The monitor went back to text. Outside, someone kicked the door. Once. The room jumped. Dust shook from the frame. The second kick hit lower. The third hit near the lock. The deadbolt held, but the plate bent. A thin line of daylight appeared at the edge. I pointed the extinguisher hose at the seam and waited. Then I heard sirens, faint and far down the ridge road. The Tacoma revved. A voice said, "Leave it." The Carhartt man slapped the window with his palm. His face was close to the glass. "Bad place to be alone," he said. Then they were moving. Doors, gravel, brush scraping the truck. The engine went downhill, not through the gate, but through the trees on an old skid road I had never noticed. I stayed with the extinguisher pointed at the door until a deputy yelled my name from outside. I made him show his badge through the window and call dispatch on speaker. His name was Aaron from Douglas County. Trooper Linda arrived 20 minutes later and told me to step out and not touch anything else. I sat on the tailgate while they cleared the shelter. My coffee was cold and sour. My shirt stuck to my back. They found a Pelican case behind the generator with Baofeng radios, spare locks, and printed work orders from AT&T, T-Mobile, and a WISP near Coos Bay. The server was an Intel NUC under the milk crate, with a Samsung SSD and a Verizon hotspot as backup. The state cyber guy said it had been capturing traffic metadata and streaming selected sessions somewhere else. He would not say whose sessions or how many. The photos filled 3 evidence boxes. I saw Trooper Cho carry one out. The top row faced me, A woman laughing in a headset. A man brushing his teeth behind an open laptop. A gray-haired guy asleep with a Chromebook on his stomach. Ordinary faces. They trusted the little green light to mean what it was supposed to mean. The official email called it vandalism and unauthorized network equipment. Homeland Security asked if I had seen anything suggesting a group name. I told him about the circle patch and the altar. He did not react. Nobody told me who the men were. Nobody told me if they caught them. For 6 weeks, we had 2-person visits at remote shelters. Then the rule went away because it cost too much. I quit tower work in March 2022. I do hospital maintenance now. There was a homemade altar under the tower, built from rusty circuit boards and old network junk. The walls were covered with hundreds of faces taken through webcams from people's own laptops. I locked a hut, called it in over the radio as vandalism, and waited for police with a fire extinguisher in my hands. The police took the photographs, the Intel box, the Raspberry Pis, the Netgear router, the broken webcam, and even the burned tea lights. Later, Derek told me the server had been streaming intercepted traffic off the site for weeks, maybe longer. He said it like he was reading weather data. That is all I know. Except sometimes, when my laptop wakes from sleep and the camera light blinks, I think about those 4x6 photos. I think about the stickers, red, yellow, blue. I think about the man outside the door saying my name through the glass. And I put tape over the camera, even at home. I remember the coffee better than my first reaction. Circle K coffee from Benson, Arizona, burnt and bitter, sitting in a foam cup on my Snap-on cart. It was October 18th, 2017, 6:40 in the morning, still cool enough that the roll-up doors were halfway open. The shop was Mesa Pass Auto, 2 bays off I-10 east of Benson, between a Shell station and a dead motel. Border Patrol Tahoes rolled by every hour. We had a faded Napa sign, 1 good rotary lift, and an office with 2 cracked vinyl chairs. I was 36 and had been a mechanic since high school. My boss, Rick, was in Tucson that morning, picking up a transmission for an F-150, so I was alone. At 7:38, a gray Toyota Tacoma pulled in hard enough that the nose dipped. Second generation, access cab, long bed, camper shell, black wheels, Arizona plates. What caught me was how clean it looked in the wrong places. Dusty paint and windshield, but a recently washed undercarriage. The driver paused beside the door, like he was checking the scene before entering it. Late 40s, shaved head, tan work jacket, Wrangler jeans, too stiff for work. Sunglasses, even with the sun low. He said his name was Eddie, but gave the last name only after I asked twice. Skid plates making noise, he said. Started around Dragoon. I'm headed to Las Cruces. People hit tire tread, rocks, blown trailer parts. A loose skid plate was normal. Nothing big, he said. Can I wait inside? I told him sure. He used the restroom first, then sat in the office closest to the door. He did not read or check his phone. He just watched me through the glass. I should have cared more, but customers lie about what they hit, get nervous about repair bills, and think every mechanic is trying to rob them. I filed Eddie under difficult traveler and drove his Tacoma into Bay 2. The scrape was real, low and uneven, like a shovel dragged over concrete, but only when the truck rocked. I set the arms and lifted it slow on the rotary. The shop filled with hydraulic clack and old oil warmed by the first sun. From I-10 came the soft roar of semis climbing east. The skid plate hung lower than it should have, maybe a 1/4 inch. 4 bolts, bright zinc, new. The crossmember around them was dusty, but the bolt heads had no grime in the corners. Then I smelled blue thread locker when I broke them loose, fresh and sharp. I told myself he had bought the truck used. Maybe some Phoenix shop had replaced hardware. Mechanics do that all day. We explain small wrong things until they become normal. The plate came down heavier than expected. I caught it against my chest, slid it aside, and heard 1 wet tap on the concrete. I thought it was transmission fluid. Dark drop, bad shadow. I touched it with a gloved finger. It was tacky. It smelled like pennies and meat left too long in a cooler. I froze under the truck. Where the skid plate had been, welded between the front crossmember and a brace, was a rectangular steel box, about 30 inches long, 12 wide, 8 deep, painted flat black, clean welds. One side had a narrow seam, and from that seam another drop formed, trembled, and fell beside my left ear. For maybe 10 seconds, I tried to make it ordinary. Auxiliary tank? No hose. Tool compartment? No latch. Smuggling box? Maybe, but those boxes did not leak like this. I rolled out too fast and banged the creeper into the air hose reel. Through the office window, I saw Eddie standing now. One hand was in his jacket pocket. A smarter person would have locked the bathroom door and called 911. At the time, I still wanted a normal answer before I got myself shot over a weird hunting cooler. Stupid, I know. I wiped the drop with a blue shop towel, folded it, and tucked it under a brake rotor on the bench. Then I went into the office. Bad? Eddie asked before I was all the way in. Skid plate's bent, I said. Need to check the mounts. He watched my face, not my hands. He smelled like Old Spice and bleach, like a motel room cleaned in a hurry. Can you tighten it? Maybe. You had work done underneath? No. Bolts are new. Bought it used. When? Couple months ago. Phoenix? He paused. Yeah. On the clipboard, he had written Eddie, a 602 number, and no address. Through the glass, I saw the plate, CHT-4821. I wrote it on a Napa invoice and slid it under the keyboard. I'll be 5 minutes, I said. He smiled without showing teeth. I'm in a hurry. Everybody is. I regretted that the second I said it. His face did not change much, but something in him went still. Back onto the truck, I used the inspection mirror. Inside the gap, I saw clear plastic pressed against the metal, crushed ice, and a dark sealed bag with a white label. Another bag sat behind it. Black marker. 2 letters, 4 numbers. The ice shifted with a wet click. I have worked on ranch trucks after hunting trips. This was not that. The bags were packed too neatly. The ice was too new. The box was too hidden. I took 3 photos with my iPhone 6. The first shutter click sounded huge, so I turned the sound off. My signal was 1 bar. I had the number for Mark, a deputy who came in for brake pads. I texted, hidden welded box under Tacoma, blood leaking, possible human organs packed in bags with ice, AZCHT-4821, driver waiting, not joking. Then I put the phone face down on the cart. No answer. The compressor kicked off. The shop went too quiet. Coke machine hum from the office. Fly on glass. Eddie's boots on concrete. He walked into the bay. What's the problem? He asked. I picked up a pry bar and set it down, like I had a reason. Plate got pushed into something. What something? Crossmember? Maybe oil pan brace? Bring it down. I need to check clearance. Bring it down. No customer voice now, just flat. He took off his sunglasses. Pale eyes. The left side of his jacket hung wrong, like there was weight under it. Maybe a gun, maybe not. So I shrugged. Your truck. My phone buzzed once, then again. Eddie's eyes snapped to it. Yours? Shop phone, I said, which was a dumb lie because it was clearly an iPhone. He stepped toward the cart. I hit the lift lever. The old rotary clacked down. He stopped, watching the Tacoma descend. My phone buzzed a 3rd time. When the tires touched, I kept my hand on the lever long enough to settle it. Then, I dragged the skid plate toward the rear tire. Put it back, he said. Can't. Why? Threads are ugly. Front holes are ovaled. If I put it back, it'll drag worse. Put it in the bed. Bed's locked. Leave it. He pulled cash from his pocket, not a wallet, a rubber-banded stack. He peeled off 200s. What do I owe? No charge. I didn't fix anything. Take it. No. His jaw moved once. Take the money, Daniel. My name was stitched on my shirt. I knew that. Still, hearing him say it made the bay feel smaller. I took 120. Inspection, I said. He put the rest away. You got parts? For what? To fix it. No, I don't have the right hardware for that setup. Dealer parts. Tucson, maybe. I'd keep it under 60. That lie worked because it was boring. Wrong parts. Dealer only. People believe boring. Eddie stared at me. The AC rattled in the office. Outside, the lot had gone white in the sun. So I can go? Yeah. At the door, he stopped. You looked inside it? Inside what? The plate. It's a skid plate, I said. There's no inside. He held my eyes for 3 seconds, then left. I watched from the office window. He picked up the skid plate, glanced back once, and put it in the passenger side of the cab instead of opening the camper shell. Then he merged east on I-10 toward Wilcox. Only after his taillights passed the shell sign did I touch my phone. Mark had texted, "Call 911 now. Do not confront. Get direction. DPS notified." Then, "Are you armed?" Then, "Answer me." My hands shook then, but only enough to miss the passcode twice. I called 911. I gave the dispatcher my name, the shop, eastbound I-10, gray Toyota Tacoma, Arizona CHT 4821, Eddie, tan jacket, shaved head. I told her what I had found. She did not laugh. "Are you safe now?" "Yes." "Is the vehicle still there?" "No, left maybe 4 minutes ago." "Lock your doors. Do not handle anything else." A Cochise County deputy named Hart arrived 12 minutes later. Young guy, blonde mustache, dust on his boots. I showed him the photos. He zoomed in, looked once, and looked away. "You opened it?" "No." "Touched anything?" "Bolts, skid plate, one drop with a towel." "Where's the towel?" I pointed. He told me not to touch it again. After that, my shop stopped being mine. Deputies, a DPS trooper, then a Border Patrol agent. Radios chirped. Latex gloves snapped. They taped off Bay 2 and asked the same questions over and over. Exact time, exact words. Did Eddie ask about cameras? Did he use the bathroom? At 9:26, Mark called. "They've got eyes on him," he said. "Where?" "Past Wilcox. DPS is behind him. They're waiting on units." "Is he stopped?" "Not yet. Stay with the deputy." Rick came back from Tucson around 10:15 in the shop's white Chevy Express. He saw the tape and 4 patrol cars. "Danny," he said, "what the hell happened?" I told him. Rick was 62 and did not spook easy. He looked at the dark spot on the concrete, then at me. "You looked in it?" With a mirror. Jesus. Around noon, 2 plainclothes men arrived from Tucson, Kaplan and Ruiz. Federal, though they used only last names. They copied my photos, bagged the bolts, the towel, and the 20. One asked if the driver had seemed scared or angry. I said he seemed prepared. At 1:43 p.m., Deputy Hart came back into the office. "They stopped it," he said. "Where?" "Before the New Mexico line, near San Simon. He tried a frontage road." "Is he alive?" Hart looked at me. "He's in custody." I never got the whole story. The name Eddie was fake. The plate belonged to a wrecked Tacoma from Phoenix. There were 3 more plates in the cab, a prepaid flip phone, a Glock under the seat, and Home Depot receipts for steel plate, welding wire, black paint, and bags of ice from a Love's and Casa Grande. The box had a little drain tube, meant to run down behind the skid plate. It had kinked. That was why it leaked. One stupid bend in plastic brought him into my shop. Nobody told me where he had started or where he was going. Las Cruces might have been true. The camper shell was empty except for moving blankets, bleach wipes, gloves, and zip ties. The detail that bothers me most happened in our bathroom. Ruiz checked the trash and found 1 brown paper towel folded into a square. Inside was a small smear of blood and a sliver of black paint. Eddie had gone in there before the clipboard. Maybe he already knew the box was failing and was deciding whether I would notice. I kept working at Mesa Pass Auto until 2021. We did alternators, brakes, overheating minivans, busted U-joints. Normal things. The spot on the concrete in Bay 2 stayed faintly darker no matter how much Rick scrubbed it. People ask why I let him leave. Maybe they would have played hero. I only know what I had. 1 bar of signal, no backup, a man with a hidden box under his truck, a weight under his jacket, and my name stitched on my shirt. So I lowered the Tacoma. I told him I did not have the right parts. I took $20 I did not want. I watched him drive east. Then I gave the plate number to people with rifles, radios, and more cars than he had exits. Some mornings, I still wake up tasting that shop. Burnt coffee, hot dust, blue thread locker, old tires. And under it all, that copper smell from 1 drop hitting the concrete beside my left ear while the owner sat 10 feet away, pretending to wait. I worked the morning sorts at the Millfield Post Office in July 2012. Millfield is not the real name, but it was a small Maine town near Ellsworth with 1 Dunkin' and a river that smelled like mud. I was 34, single, living over Walt's garage on Birch Street. My shift started at 5:15 a.m. Trays came in from the Hampton plant. We cut bands, faced letters, sorted flats, scanned parcels, and drank burned coffee from an old bun machine. The workroom smelled like paper dust and diesel. There were 4 of us most mornings. Dennis, our old Navy supervisor, Marcy at the window, Todd, rural carrier, and me at the case. It was Wednesday, July 18th. Marcy brought a Hannaford cake, and the air conditioner over the P.O. boxes rattled like loose change. I was sorting Pine Street when I saw my own name. Evan Keene, 12 Birch Street, Apartment 2, Millfield, MEO 46-. No stamp, meter strip, cancellation mark, barcode, or return address. The envelope was thick cream paper with no flap on the back. I held it up. This one's mine. Dennis looked over his readers. Postage due? No postage at all. Set it aside. Don't open fan mail on the clock. So I set it by my coffee. I should have marked it up, but it had my name on it. At 7:40, before the window opened, I picked it up again. It was stiff. When I pressed the front, something inside made a flat plastic click. Marcy was counting stamps. Dennis was in back. Todd was loading his LLV. I cut the top with the letter opener. Inside was an X-ray film. Black and blue, about 8 by 10 inches, with a white strip at the top. My father's VA records had taught me the look. This one had my name in the corner. Keene, Evan M. Dobb, March 14th, 1978. Chest, PA/LAT, July 19th, 2012, 9:30. That date was tomorrow. My first thought was a clinic mistake. Then I remembered most clinics had no middle initial for me. My middle name is Martin. The image showed collarbones, ribs, spine, but where the lung should have been, there were gears. Not drawn gears. It looked like metal parts actually sitting inside the rib cage. 2 banks of clockwork, teeth interlocking. Fin rods ran toward the diaphragm. Behind the sternum was a larger wheel. Near the heart shadow was a small, dark shape like a winding key. I did not scream. I just stared until my coffee tasted sour. Marcy came over. "What is that?" I slid the film halfway back into the envelope. "Medical thing." "Yours?" "Looks like it." "You okay?" "Yeah, probably a mistake." That was my first explanation. A mistake. Some clinic mixed names. Some local weirdo made a prank. None of it fit, but each idea was better than thinking about the date and the gears. Customers came in at 8. I kept the envelope under the counter beside the USPS Priority Mail tape gun. The paper stayed cold. The office was hot enough that my shirt stuck between my shoulders, but the envelope felt like it had been in a refrigerator. The film smelled faintly of vinegar and pennies. At 11:30, Dennis saw it too. He held the film against the window, read tomorrow's date, and stopped making jokes. Sandy, our postmaster, copied the envelope and told me to take the original home because it had my medical information on it, real or fake. That night, I held the film against the TV while Deadliest Catch flickered behind it. One gear had a chipped tooth. A narrow chain ran behind the ribs. I Googled the obvious phrases and found nothing. Around 3, I woke and thought I heard ticking. Tick, tick, tick. I held my breath. The ticking stopped. I had an analog clock in the bathroom. Walt had tools downstairs. Old houses make noises. At 4:30, I shaved and looked at my bare chest. It was just skin, 1 mole, a little sunburn. So I went to work. Thursday, July 19th, the date on the film. Fog sat over the blueberry fields off Bucksport Road. I stopped at Dunkin' for coffee. I had the first envelope in my lunch bag, which was another stupid choice. Nothing happened for the first hour. Then, at 6:32, the lights flickered. That building flickered all the time. Nobody cared. But when the lights came back steady, the letter in my hand had changed. I had been holding a Discover Card offer for Pine Street. Now it was a cream envelope. Evan Keene, 12 Birch Street, Apartment 2, Millfield, ME 046. No stamp, no barcode. Dennis saw my face. Again? The envelope had no flap. "Don't open it," Dennis said. He was right. I opened it anyway. Inside was another film. Keene, Evan M. DOB, March 14th, 1978. Chest PA/LAT. July 19th, 2012, 9:30. Image 2 of 4. This was a side view. The machinery looked deeper from that angle. A rod ran from behind the sternum toward the throat, marked like stamped metal. Dennis said, "Put it down." I did. Todd crossed himself from the loading door. He was not a church guy, so that made it worse. Then the phone rang. Marcy answered, listened, and looked at me. "Clinic," she said after hanging up. "Penobscot Family Imaging. They said Mr. Keene missed his 6:30 check-in, and they were confirming he was still breathing normally." Dennis dialed 69. The number that came back was ours. The call had come from the post office. Sandy arrived early at 7:05, bagged the second envelope, and told me to sit in the break room while she called district. It was 6 feet by 10, with a stained microwave and a Lance cracker machine. At 8:12, my flip phone buzzed. The screen said, "Home." I did not have a landline. I answered. There was breathing, normal breathing. In, out, a little dry at the end. "Hello?" I said. The breathing stopped. Then my own voice said, calmly, "Don't let them image 3. I know my voice from voicemail. This was me, but older maybe, farther away. The voice said, "If they image 4, it stays." The line clicked dead. Sandy called Officer Grant, our whole police department, on weekdays. He arrived at 8:37, inspected everything, and nobody laughed. At 9:06, the third envelope appeared. Marcy made a small sound, and there it was on top of the outgoing mail tub. This envelope had a return address. Penobscot Family Imaging, 41 Water Street, Millfield, ME046. There was no 41 Water Street. Water Street ended at 29, at an old sardine building turned storage units. After that was the river. Officer Grant opened it himself. Inside was image 3 of 4. He held it up, then lowered it fast. Jesus! I saw enough. Front view again, closer. The gears filled the chest more than before. The little winding key shape near the heart had turned maybe 45 degrees. Along the bottom were typed words. Respiration assisted / manual intervention required. Then the postal scale turned on by itself. It beeped. The green display flashed 0.00, then 8.7, then 8.6, counting down by tenths. No package was on it. Todd came in through the rear door. Why is the scale doing that? The display hit 0.0. The lights went out. The only light was the red emergency sign over the back exit. Officer Grant took out a mag light. Then we all heard ticking. From the sorting case, the walls, the trays, inside the P.O. boxes, hundreds of little ticks, not together. Marcy said, "Nope, no, no." Dennis said, "Everybody outside." I was last. Not brave, just stuck. The ticking sped up, and I felt pressure high in my chest. Not pain, pressure, like holding my breath too long, except I was breathing. Officer Grant grabbed my sleeve. "Move." Outside, the July air was wet and heavy. Across the street, the Dunkin' drive-thru kept going. A man in a Ford F-150 took his coffee and drove away. The power came back after 3 minutes. Bangor Hydro later said there had been no outage on the block. Officer Grant wanted me at the hospital. Dennis wanted to drive me home. I said no, which was stupid. I kept thinking, if they image 4, it stays. I went back inside. The office looked normal again. Fluorescent lights, gray counters, Marcy's Diet Coke sweating on the desk. The bag with the films sat on Sandy's desk. I stood by the black Fellows shredder. I do not remember deciding. I remember thinking maybe the envelopes were the imaging. Maybe opening them was the imaging. I took the bag. Sandy said, "Evan." Officer Grant turned. I pulled out the envelopes and films and fed the first one into the shredder. The motor caught, slowed, then chewed through. Plastic cracked. The smell that came out was hot vinegar and metal, strong enough that Marcy gagged. Dennis shouted, "Stop!" I fed the second. It jammed halfway. The side view film stuck out, vibrating. For 1 second, under the fluorescent light, the gears on it seemed to turn 1 notch. Maybe it was just the machine. I shoved down with both hands. The film went in. The shredder made a low sound like a drill biting a screw. The lights dimmed. The scale beeped once. Somewhere in the P.O. boxes, something answered with a single tick. I fed the third. It took longer. My name disappeared first, then the ribs. Then the line about manual intervention. Last was the small, dark, winding key. The shredder ran empty for 3 seconds and stopped. Nobody spoke. Then Marcy whispered, "Look." In the outgoing mail tub lay a 4th envelope. Cream paper. My name. No stamp. But this one was already torn open, empty. Officer Grant picked it up with 2 fingers. On the front, under my address, 1 extra line had been typed. No image available. I laughed once, not because it was funny, it was just a sound. Dennis came with me when I emptied the shredder bin. The dumpster smelled like old priority boxes, rotten coffee, and July heat. 1 strip caught on the edge, showing 3 gear teeth and a screw. Then it fell. The rest became paperwork. At home, the first x-ray was gone from under the phone book beside my toaster. Only a clean rectangle in the dust remained. I did not tell him. I was done adding things. The next morning, Friday, July 20th, I drove to a walk-in clinic in Ellsworth, not Penobscot Family Imaging. That place did not exist. No listing, no business license, no 41 Water Street. I went to Down East Family Care near Walmart, where the waiting room had old magazines and 1 orange fish. I told the physician assistant I had chest pressure. True enough. They checked vitals, listened to my lungs, and sent me for a chest x-ray because of family history. The technician was named Kim and had a small anchor tattoo on her wrist. The room smelled like disinfectant and warm electronics. She told me to stand against the plate, chin up, shoulders forward. When the machine buzzed, I almost stepped away. Hold still, she said. I held still. The results were normal. Clear lungs, normal heart size, no acute findings. No gears, no rods, no key. The PA said it was probably anxiety and too much coffee. She was probably right about the coffee. I went back the following Monday. Sandy had replaced the shredder. Officer Grant never found a source for the calls. Fairpoint called the post office phoning itself, a switching error. By September, people mostly stopped mentioning it. I changed one habit. Any letter addressed to me that came through the office, I did not open there. Not bills, birthday cards, or the AAA renewal with the little fake card inside. I still work for USPS, though not in Millfield. The workroom still smells the same. Paper dust, floor wax, warm plastic. My lungs are fine. My breathing is fine. Every chest x-ray since has been boring. I keep copies in a folder because I am that kind of idiot now. The only lasting thing is mail with my own name on it. At work, if I see Evan Keane in the stack, I put it face down and finish the sort. I do not check postage, hold it to the light, or flex it to feel what is inside. Someone else can decide. And if there is no stamp, no barcode, no return address, I do not open it. Not there, not ever. LurmoStories is offline for tonight. The wallpaper on your screen will probably look fine. If you catch a flicker around the time you stand up, it isn't the screen. It's the part of the video your eye saved. Leave a comment if yours flickered. We're tracking the timestamps.